Move over Bridgerton because there's a new hit Netflix series in town and it's called Squid Game. The newly aired South Korean series is gripping audiences around the world, and a Squid Game addiction is spreading fast. Today, we're going to take you behind the scenes of Squid Game, what it's like for the actors working on this crazy set. Here's everything you need to know. So what are things like behind the scenes of this hit new series? One of the things that makes the show so great is that the director and creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, deliberately chose to rely on old school practical effects instead of computer-generated imagery, CGI. Many feel that this gives the show a certain authenticity and realism that likely would have been lost if Hwang Dong-hyuk had chosen to rely on CGI. So, excellent call there. Even during the very first game, Red Light, Green Light, when contestants are shot, we see blood mist from the entrance and exit wounds, which was entirely done using old school blood squibs instead of CGI. Oftentimes, it's the little things that can make a TV series or a show that much more successful. Think of CGI sharks and dinosaurs versus animatronic sharks or dinosaurs. The latter's more often than not much better received than audiences no matter where they are in the world. Hwang Dong-hyuk started writing Squid Game back in 2008, and the series was in the making for 12 years before seeing production. That's probably another reason why it's so awesome. Hwang Dong-hyuk had an amazing screenplay in his hands and chose to create some seriously wild sets, again, instead of relying on CGI, and from the start insisted on as much practical effects as possible. Hwang Dong-hyuk also wanted to infuse not only the series but the games themselves with as much South Korean culture as possible. For instance, the robot in Red Light, Green Light is a fictional character from South Korean books, and again, the robot was actually built. And it's not CGI. Awesome, right? What's it like for the actors working on this crazy set? As you may or may not know, there's a total of 456 contestants participating in this deadly game, and many of the actors and extras were in awe of the sets during shooting, and many of the actors couldn't help but take photos. During the second game, known as Honeycomb, the crew used real honeycombs, and it's reported that the entire set smelled like honeycombs while the crew was filming. Many of the sets for the various games took several weeks to build, and construction crews were very busy. For the actors, one of the scariest sets to work on was for the fifth game, known as the Glass Stepping Stones, aka the Bridge Game. Part of the reason is that the crew opted for real tempered glass and not the fake breakaway glass that is all too common in film and TV production. Several actors have described working on the set of this hit series as a surreal experience. So what is Squid Game about? Director Hwang Dong-hyuk has inspired to write the series because of the economic situation in South Korea, where he says there is substantial rising debt and predatory moneylenders who are eager to capitalize on the situation. Squid Game tells the story of hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invitation to compete in children's games. Inside, a tempting prize awaits with deadly high stakes, a survival game that has a whopping 45.6 billion won prize at stake. Despite being so new, the series already has an IMDb rating of 8.0 out of 10 from over 80,000 votes, and the show's popularity is growing exponentially. Some have described Squid Game as a dystopian version of the Japanese battle royale genre. It's currently the #1 series on Netflix, and fans can't seem to get enough. Part of the reason for the show's success is that it's a simple story that people can easily relate to, understand, and digest. Oftentimes, when it comes to TV or even film projects, the old less is more adage can really boost a project's chances of success. In addition to the story's simplicity, the show touches on some very interesting and, again, relatable themes. As we've seen so often in film and television industry, relatability translates to marketability. The idea of adults playing traditional kids games for such incredibly high stakes, games that viewers around the world have likely played during their youth, is yet another reason for global Squid Game addiction. How many games are featured in Squid Game, and what are they? In total, Squid Game features 6 games, all of which are well-known children's games. Of course, the names for these games can vary from one part of the world to the next, however, you'll likely recognize a few of them for sure. And remember, in the Squid Game, all of these innocent children's games have been modified with a lethal twist. The first game played in the show is the classic game of Red Light, Green Light. And the person doing the checking to see if people are moving is actually this giant, creepy doll with a head that rotates like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Thank God this doll doesn't puke green stuff though. The game is known in other regions of the world as Grandma's Footsteps or What's the Time, Mr. Wolf. Only in Squid Game, if you get caught moving, you're killed by a single shot fired from a series of guns fortified in the surrounding walls. In the second game, the contestants are forced to cut shapes essentially, and it's enough to bring back nightmares of geometry class. Contestants are ordered to cut shapes such as circle, a star, an umbrella, a triangle, and even a honeycomb. And if any contestants break their shape, they die. Third game in this crazy series is the contestants separated into groups of 10 for an old school game of tug of war. And in classic Squid Game tradition, the losing team and their members die. So what are the last 3 games? Don't go away. Stay tuned because you're about to find out. The fourth game in Squid Game sees the contestants divided into pairs, and like the third game, Tug of War, they're divided into teams before they're told what it is they're playing. This only serves to create even more suspense. Once split up into pairs, the contestants are then forced to play a deadly game of marbles. And of course, the contestant who loses dies. Many fans of the show feel that the fifth game is one of the craziest of them all. The contestants are not split into teams for this game and are told to pick a number between 1 and 16. After they pick a number comes the scary, heart-pounding part. The contestants are instructed to walk across a bridge in their numbered order. The bridge has 2 glass panels, and each player is forced to jump on one of them. But only one of the panels is strong enough to hold them. The players who chose poorly fall through and suffer a horrible and terrifying fall to their deaths. The sixth and final game is known as the Squid Game. It's actually the game that you see children playing in the intro of episode 1. In the clip, you can hear a voiceover explaining the rules for the Squid Game and tell us that it's played in a court shaped like a squid. Children are divided into 2 groups, the offense and the defense. Once the game starts, the defense can run around on 2 feet in bounds, while the offense outside the lines are only allowed to hop on 1 foot. But if an attacker cuts through the waist of the squid past the defense, they're given the freedom to use both feet. There's only one way to win the Squid Game. The attacking player has to tap a small boxed-off space at the head of the squid with their foot. If they get pushed out of bounds, they die. So why should you watch Squid Game? We're about to tell you why. There are a number of reasons to watch this fresh new series, but one reason in particular is the star-studded cast. While the names and faces may be unfamiliar to the Western TV viewing public, the cast members playing the main characters are actually some of the biggest stars and juggernauts in the South Korean entertainment industry. And if you love shows with darker themes and gore, this is definitely a series that you can turn to get your fix. There's nail-biting suspense, and there's some really great writing with well-developed characters. And for those of you who may not know, one of the cornerstones of great writing is to have well-developed characters. Characters that are exciting and not only piques our interest, but undergo a sort of transformative internal journey. By the journey's end, the characters, if still alive, will be different people from when they started off. The show's protagonist, Gi-hun, is a desperate father with severe debt who's trying to do right by his family. There's an elderly man who sort of becomes a father figure to many in the group, a refugee from the North Korean regiment, a highly educated man, and there's even a gangster with a face tattoo of a snake. Characters are introduced one at a time, and the reason people keep watching and coming back for more is because they want to know which character is going to be bumped off next. We guess you could say it's like a sick and twisted version of Survivor. Oh, and the prize for the winner of the competition? A cool $38 million. Thank you for listening and watching. Please click like and subscribe to our channel. More exciting and informative videos are on the way.